Today, we're digging into something really fundamental, the hidden blueprint that makes a school, well, a school. We're going to explore how setting standards for what's actually inside the building is the secret to unlocking a great education for every single student.
So, let's just start with that big question. What is it that turns a bunch of walls and a roof into a place of learning? Because it's obviously so much more than just the building itself. It's really about the opportunities that are created inside those walls.
And to see just how critical this is, let's imagine a tale of two schools. You've got School A, maybe in a city, with a full computer lab. Its students are learning digital skills that are absolutely essential for today's world. Then you've got School B, maybe in a more remote area, and it has no lab at all. Right there, with just that one difference, you've created a massive gap in opportunity.
That gap really brings us to the heart of it all. It's about the core components, the actual stuff of learning. So let's break down what that stuff really is.
To get a handle on this, the Indonesian education system has two really useful terms. First, there's sarana. That's all the movable stuff you use for learning. The books, the desks, the computers, all the hands-on tools. Then you've got prasarana. That's the immovable infrastructure that holds it all together. The school building itself, the classrooms, the library. You absolutely need both working in sync for real learning to happen.
Okay, so how do we fix that inequality we saw between our two schools? The answer lies in a concept that might sound a little dry, but it is incredibly powerful. It's all about standardization.
Now, when you hear standardization, you might be thinking, cookie-cutter schools where everything is exactly the same. But that's not what this is about. It's about setting a fair, consistent baseline. It's making sure that every kid, no matter their zip code, has a safe, quality place to learn with the tools they actually need to have a shot at success.
And this isn't just some nice-to-have idea. In many places, it is literally the law. For instance, our sources point to Indonesia's national education standards. These aren't suggestions. They are the official, legally required minimums that every single school has to meet, period.
And if you're wondering how specific these standards get, well, take a look at this. This is just one small example for a junior high school library. The rules don't just say, hey, have a library. They get into the weeds, specifying exactly how many textbooks per student and even how many guidebooks for teachers.
And get a load of this number: 870. That is the minimum number of different enrichment book titles a library needs to have. That's not just have some nice books. That is a specific, detailed requirement that shows a serious commitment to giving every student access to a deep well of knowledge.
But look, setting these ambitious standards is really just step one. To actually hit those goals, and more importantly, keep them there, that takes a non-stop cycle of really smart management.
And that management process is this logical 5-stage loop. It all starts with perencanaan. That's the planning, figuring out what you need. Then comes pengadaan, which is actually going out and getting it. After that, you've got to track everything with an inventory, keep it all working with maintenance, and finally get rid of it responsibly when it's old. It's a continuous cycle designed to keep a school's resources up to snuff.
Okay, so we have the standards, we have a management cycle. It sounds pretty good, right? But this is where things get a little more nuanced. How do you make sure that one set of rules works for every student, especially those with different needs? And that's really the million-dollar question, isn't it? If the whole point is fairness and equity, can one rigid, one-size-fits-all standard actually create equal opportunity for students who have vastly different abilities? And the answer, which is really the genius of it, is that you have to rethink the entire goal. Real, meaningful standardization isn't about making everything uniform. It's about ensuring equity. The goal isn't to give every student the exact same desk. It's to give every student the same chance to learn. So what does that look like in the real world? It means the standard itself has to be flexible and inclusive. For a student with a visual impairment, the standard includes things like Braille typewriters. For a student in a wheelchair, the standard demands accessible ramps. You see? The environment adapts to the learner, not the other way around. That's how every single person gets the specific tools they need to shine.
So after going through all of this, what's the big idea? What's the main takeaway here?
A quote from one of our sources just says it all. Perfectly and simply, the facilities and infrastructure will greatly support the quality of education. It's that direct. The quality of the stuff in a school has a massive impact on the quality of the learning that happens there.
So at the end of the day, a great school doesn't just happen by accident. It's a carefully planned, intentionally managed environment where thoughtful standards of the tools we use to build real, tangible opportunities for every person who walks through the door.
And that brings us to one last, really critical question for all of us to think about. If our schools are truly the foundation for our collective future, how do we make absolutely sure that foundation is strong enough and fair enough for every single child to build their life on?